Hi, my name is Henk Krijnen. I'm one of the founders of Claridec. In this quick intro, I will just, in a few minutes, explain what scenario planning is about. Like many other terms, the word scenario will have different meanings to different people. Let's first review some interpretation of the word scenario that we do not refer to in this context. So, we do not mean a movie script. And we also do not mean several outlooks for some numeric variable. We do not mean the design of some course of action. And we also do not mean a sensitivity analysis. These different uses of the word scenario are not invalid, of course. There are many words with multiple interpretations. But what we mean here is an alternative future, a description of how relevant driving forces and uncertainties in the future external environment may materialize in some logical, coherent way. So scenarios are different pathways to different worlds. And they are distinctly different ways in which the contextual environment may evolve towards the future. The essence of scenario planning is making the connections between different possible outcomes of some key external uncertainties. For example, the economy, geopolitical developments, regulations, market developments, social issues, or whatever matters in the external environment to a particular organization. For each important external uncertainties, several possible outcomes in the future are identified. These outcomes are subsequently woven together to form one of several futures in some coherent way that could make sense. The scenario method is a heuristic approach to reduce the complexity of the external environment to a few internally consistent and logical concepts. It is important that such alternative futures are challenging but plausible. They should be challenging to force us to imagine and study developments that may be considered unlikely, such as a pandemic, but they also should be plausible. We want to stay away from fantasies. We want to stay away from cycling in the air. But at the same time, we also want to avoid being trapped in a tunnel vision. At Claridec, we make the distinction between exploratory and focus scenarios. With exploratory scenarios, we mean scenarios that are aimed at improving our understanding of the business environment or the contextual environment of an organization. They are usually global, longer term, and involve divergent thinking. They are not linked to a particular decision problem. With focus scenarios, we zoom in on a particular decision or focused research question. They are often more local and study, for example, the implications of different developments in the business environment for a specific investment opportunity. Now let's take a look at the typical business cycle. We have ongoing business, dealing with things now and here. We have strategic positioning, thinking about the future options for organizations, and the implementation of the resulting strategy by making investments or conducting other projects. We can roughly say that exploratory scenario planning fits in the strategic positioning phase. And focus scenario planning would usually be linked to investment decisions. So how are scenarios useful for decision making? First of all, they are aimed at calibrating the minds of decision makers. And this particular applies to exploratory scenarios. By imagining different and perhaps not very obvious futures, senior staff and executives within an organization open up their mental models to the world, and this will always influence the decisions they take in an implicit, pervasive way. A way to refer to this is the gentle art of re-perceiving. There can also be a more structured way to analyze different strategy options against multiple future scenarios. This is called wind tunneling. Again, not meant as a mechanistic exercise, but a way to have a structured discussion. Lastly, we can also become more quantitative. Scenarios are then translated to numeric inputs for models that are used to support a decision-making process. So this was a very brief introduction to the topic of scenario planning. I've written a chapter on scenario planning in the book Enterprise Risk Management, Today's Leading Research and Best Practices for Tomorrow's Executives. This was published in 2021. And the chapter contains a lot more detail. If you would like a complimentary copy of this chapter, or if you would like other information about scenario planning or about Claridec, please write an email to team@claridec.com. Thank you for your attention.